Hello everyone, this is FlatLine, and today I'm going to be doing the 8th daily. It's going to be covering up a build order as well. It's going to be Zest PvP 11 gate Stargate build. It'll be showcased in GSO. The first time he showcased this was against Strat, and from what I know, I think he did this build at least 4 times, or he showcased this build 4 times on broadcasted matches. Unfortunately, I do not have all the resources to get all those replays, but we are able to look at one game where he's facing rain, and then I'll show you a game of mine where I do the build itself. Okay, so to do the build, 9 Pylon, and then the trickiest part is to not Chronoboost your probe, but still make probes and drop down a 11 gateway. Then you can resume probes. 14 supply, you want to make sure you get your gases. Oh, and his opponent's Rain, who is my favorite Protoss, though we're about to see him lose. Still my favorite. And you want to put 3 in that gas, get your Cyber, and then you want to get your Pylon. Pylon will be at 17 supply. And while you're dropping that 17, after the Cyber, your probe should be scouting around for proxies and all that stuff, because you're going to be playing pretty greedy with the 3 gas. So I'm going to pause it here real quick because we're just talking about the opening. I want to cover up the reason why I feel like this is a pretty good build. PvP can be a very coin flippy matchup, as people will coin it. But there are some builds I'm starting to see that can make it a very solid matchup. In PvP and Wings of Liberty, I actually felt like it was pretty standard, it was pretty good. It was in a very good spot. It was discovered. People just knew what to do. In the Heart of the Swarm, it's not the same case. It seems like a lot of people are kind of confused. What should they go for? You know, the compositions, the builds, all that stuff starts to become a little flustered, and that's because, you know, the game is still relatively new compared to Wings of Liberty. But we're starting to see Zest starting to, he's going to show us some pretty good builds lately, actually. And this is one of the ones that stands out to me. Even though this is a pretty old build, it's still a really good build to this day. So the cool thing about this is the 11 gate allows you to get a faster gateway, a faster cyber, which means the faster cyber is not really for, you know, to get a faster warp gate, but more so to get a faster Mothership core, a faster Stargate, or tech you want to go for. And he's going to go for Stargate. And the reason why Stargate I feel like is a pretty good tech to go for is because it's kind of like the new Robo in Wings. In Wings of Liberty, everyone went something into Robo just because the Robo kind of held everything. You know, Stargate openings were not that strong in Wings of Liberty as they are in Haunts. So that's why everyone just reverted back into that Robo style, because in Wings you kind of hold it, you know, with gateways and immortals here and there. But now in Heart of the Swarm, with the Oracle Edition, the strength of the Void Ray, it's a little bit questionable if you're able to hold some of the stuff. So and that's why I like the Stargate. Now the Stargate, you're wondering, well, what about DTs? You have you can access the Oracle. Stargate beats Robo, that's the general rule, but Twilight beats Stargate somewhat. You know, if they go Blink Stalkers, you can make Void Rays with charge and with pretty good decision making on your prismatic, like when to turn on your prismatic alignment and whatnot. You should be able to come out ahead, especially on a map like this where the ramp at the natural is really narrow, so it's really hard for the guy who's going Blink Stalkers to actually press up into your natural and try to deal with your Void Rays or something like that. So this is a really good map to definitely do this on if you want to go for Stargate. Not to mention the air distance between one base to the other is relatively short. If you're wondering if you want to get the build order itself, I will put it in the description below. So don't worry. Do not worry about it. So we're going to get the Stargate, you're going to get your Mothership core, you're going to get the warp gate going. Now you sending the Mothership core to his base is optional. I would say the only reason why he's doing this is just because of the map itself, how it's laid out. It's really easy to go from one base to the other. And he also spots the Mothership core as well. Rain is going to be going for his target as well. Like I said, that's pretty common to see that. And Zest going for his Phoenixes as well. He's gonna wait for 2 of them. And that's a pretty cool number to go for. You'll see some people go with just 1. And I think the only reason why he doesn't go with 1 is because he saw the Mothership Core. I think if he didn't see any Mothership Core going across the map, he would have gone first, straight in with the first Phoenix to see exactly what's going on. But usually anytime you see a Mothership Core that early, that means your opponent's playing defensive. That's the only reason why you get a Mothership Core that early, is to play defensive. Well, unless you want to scout with it. Usually it means defensive purposes, so. Just because offensive wise, it casts a Time Warp, and besides that, its damage is really, really bad. Alright, so here is one of the benefits of going for the 11th Stargate. It usually will beat, and not usually, it will beat Stargate openings that come from a regular, typical gateway timing, which is around 13 supply. Because you get your Stargate quicker. Quicker your Stargate, quicker the Phoenix come out, which means more Phoenixes for you at a certain time of the game. You can see he's kind of containing Rain on his base while he's getting his natural as well. It's really difficult for Rain. This is actually pretty risky of him to have some of these probes here, just because Rain does not have enough. He has enough in one area, but it's hard for him to go from the other area to defend. More Phoenixes, and we see Rain hallucinating. He's gonna scout this. Sees a second Phoenix here, Stargate here. So here we're gonna pause it here. So Zest, we actually could back this up just a little bit right here. Now he's expanded because pretty much know that Rain can't really do anything here. Maybe we need to back a little bit more. I think this should be at a good spot. Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. So, he only sees 1 Phoenix and just a couple of units down here. So he's like, okay, he's probably trying to transition into Twilight Council to deal with the Phoenixes. Now he cancels it. 1, the probe from Rain scouted the Robo, and then 2, you see more Phoenixes coming out from Rain. So this doesn't really make sense if he wants to go for Twilight. If he wants to transition into Blink, you won't be making more Phoenixes. Instead, he's going to go for a second Stargate, so he can outmatch the number of Phoenixes Rain makes. So all these Phoenixes will become useless. Like, his resources he's definitely gonna be at a deficit. Just because, see how he could just straight up engage into that. And when it's Phoenix versus Phoenix, it spirals out of control. Like, once you lose control, you kind of lose the game. You have to get some way of getting back in the game. So you can go for like proxy DTs and just hope for the best. You do see a Twilight Council coming out from Rain. And I'm pretty sure he's got, what is this? Oh, I guess that's part of the map. I've never seen this before. He's probably going to be putting a DT shrine here, maybe. We'll see. I'd be surprised if he actually has a DT shrine inside his base. You usually don't want to show it. And you want to go for Blink as well. It looks like he is going to do that. Now Zest, going for Robo. Why is he going for Robo? Well, now he knows Rain is no longer going to be going Phoenix. So, if he's not going Phoenix, the only way he's going to defend this is if he gets some Blink Stalkers to deal with this, or Archons. Both require the Twilight Council tech. What beats Twilight Council in that general rule in PvP? Robo. So that's why you're going for Robo. He's not making any more Phoenix, because there's no reason to. He already has a lot. And Rain is starting to stabilize his base, where he can be able to defend this. Now obviously it's not clear that he's able to defend the entire thing as he's picking up a couple of probes here and there. A lot of stalkers from Rain. He does have that DC shrine. Do we have an observer from Zest? Now this is the cool thing I like about Zest. This is what you need to remember when I was talking about PvP in the previous daily. It was about the late game PvP. Look at his units. Units tab. We are 12 minutes in the game. He has 1 zealot, 2 sentries, and an immortal. He never warped in back at his base. He never constantly warped in back at his base. Now this is a bad rule to go by if you're in the lower leagues, because in lower leagues you should always be making something out of your gateways, out of your production buildings, just because macro is OP in the lower league, because if you have more stuff, if you're able to spend your money better than your opponent, most of the time you will end up winning. Regardless of how shitty your micro is, if you just A move and you just make a bunch of units, I'm pretty sure you'll end up winning a lot of games. As long as you can macro better than your opponent. And that means spending your money perfectly. But for the higher leagues, or the higher levels, look at this. He's not really investing into zealots. He's not warping in stalkers. He's not making extra sentries. 2 sentries is a very good number, because once his Phoenix dies, if they ever do die, he's hallucination constantly. The other good thing about the sentries, having 2 sentries, is Guardian Shield. In the late game, you want to have Guardian Shield on your units, because the Colossus would be the ones doing the damage, which are range units, so you can add +2 armor / shields on your units. And generally when you're maxed, you're gonna have a big army where one Guardian Shield is not gonna cover everything, but 2 will. The other cool thing, or the other reason why he wants to stop at 2, is because if you look at this ramp, it takes 2 force fields to force field this ramp. Obviously 1, as long as it has enough energy, which both of them do not have. If one of them does have 100 energy, then you can hold it with 1 sentry, but then what happens to the next round if you had to force field again, what are you gonna do? Warp in more sentries, which means you're gonna spend an extra 100 gas. It's way better if you get 2 early sentries to gather up energy super quickly, so that way you can force field the ramp. Going back, doesn't make any units. He skips warp ins cycles, so you can play extra greedy. Now greedy is a term that goes with risk, but then there's also another type of greedy, which is safe greedy. And safe greedy is where you are playing greedy. As you could just tell it's 12 minutes in a game, you got only 4 units, like that's greedy, right? But it's safe because Zest is aware of his position in the game. He's got the map control. He also scouted what Rain's doing. He knows Rain can't really push and do a lot of damage. He is pushing now, but this will not kill a Zest. The reason why it's photon overcharge, you need to make, for Rain to kill Zest, he needs to be able to out DPS or kill the Nexus quickly. With the help of an Immortal, with the help of the 2 sentries, I just don't see that happening, and a second Immortal should be popping out by the time Rain actually attacks. The other thing you have to worry about is when he does attack, he is probably going to get lifted by all these Phoenixes, and the fact that they have all this energy, they're going to be able to lift a lot. They are definitely going to be lifting a lot. They're hitting the gym at this point. So this little push out from Rain, it feels like a desperate move. Ooh, DTs. I forgot about the DTs. This is unfortunate for Zest. I think if he wanted to, the 1 Immortal is good, but he needs to make a second. His second unit should have been an Observer, in my opinion. Having that 1 Immortal is really nice to deal with this timing here. You want to make sure you do have an Immortal out to deal with Blink Stalkers, so you can lift if you need to, if he does commit. And then if he doesn't commit, your Observer can help deal with the DTs. Like a second Immortal will definitely crush this, but then you end yourself up being behind or being in trouble against DTs. But if you go for 1 Immortal and then Observer, you will be okay. You won't crush the Blink Stalkers, but you will be in okay shape, and you are perfectly fine against Dark Templar. Alright, so Rain try to poke and try to do damage. It didn't really do that much damage. He did pull the probes from Zest, and that's about it. Now Zest is powering up, and now he's making units. And the reason why he's making units, like I said in the late game PvP, you only make units when you know you need to make units, which is now. Which is basically whenever your opponent's on the other side of the map. Phoenix is going over here trying to pick off probes. Picking off probes is like pretty much telling Rain to attack into this. And this is what I was talking about. See how one immortal just does so much. Just so much. Obviously, you have more zealots to defend with this, but that means Rain also has more stalkers. So, it's a give and take at that point. Yeah, now he can't push up. The lift will help. Alright, getting charged. Now the reason why he doesn't go for blinks is because he already has Phoenixes to kind of deal with blink stalkers. Not to mention, it's really hard for Rain. If he wants to blink inside the main, he's gonna have to shift blink this thing, and then his Phoenixes can just lift them up. So he can't really abuse his blink mechanic. Generally, anytime you see a Korean player transitioning against a blink stalker player, they will get their own blink. And that's just to chase him out and just negate the advantage that his opponent has. So, pretty good time warp, but too many immortals. He's gonna try to blink up on this. His Phoenixes come over here, kills everything. And there's the GG from Rain. So, pretty cool build from Zest. To recap, the Phoenix early in the game, you can be able to scout on time to see what your opponent's doing and then react accordingly. And then we'll go over the reactions later at the end of this this video. So here is a game or replay of mine where I face Blade on Altruism Stronghold. This is on a Korean server, so I know I do the build, but I don't remember if there's any like specific moments where the latency might cause an issue. So the cool thing about this build is that it opens up a lot of options for you to go for. So you can go into the Immortal style and then just, you know, play it out, go into Colossus and go for that Colossus army. You can go into Immortal Archon army. In this game, I'm going to show a little bit of a pretty wild style where I go Phoenix DT. And the reason why this kind of works, my opponent does go Phoenix himself, just like Rain. Rain did against Zest. But I have the air superiority because I have a faster Stargate. And so the reason why this Phoenix DT style kind of works is because your Phoenix snipe the observers, your DTs kill everything else. That's pretty much how the game goes. So it becomes super annoying. Because you have DTs, because you have Phoenixes, and you have all that out on the map, you have a huge lead when it comes to map control. So you can expand quicker than your opponent. And you contain your opponent pretty well until they're able to I would say they would have to get more observers or try to snipe my observer, or they're gonna have to have some way of getting cannons. They're gonna have to cannon hop their way to a third base or something like that. So I found out where he spawned. You're gonna see me go with my Phoenix. Add on a second gateway to be safe. And we do see him going Phoenix himself. So at this point, I don't really can play aggressive, so let's just scout around the map. This is what's cool about this. Found his probe coming down here. Just checking typical proxy pylon locations. Now let's look to see if he's grabbing a natural. Snipe that off. Looks like he does. So him having that probe right there kind of tells me, okay, he looks like he wants to play a macro game. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's expand as well. So we expand roughly around the same time. The difference is I have more phoenixes than him. So he will have to transition, or he's going to have to add on a second Stargate quicker than me. It's one of those two. And he goes for a forge. So he's going for the cannons. This means he wants to transition out of this. He does not want to go Phoenix versus Phoenix. Whereas for me, I'm still making my Phoenix. I have more Phoenixes than him. There's no need for me to go into extra, to add on an extra Stargate because of the forge from Blade. So I'm going to go into DTs. Now this is counterintuitive. I mean, because the guy's going to have multiple cannons, so how am I supposed to harass him, right? It's not necessarily to harass, it's to provide a superior map control. Once Blade has Archons, which he's going to Archives or something like that, he can move out on the map and play aggressive. Unless I have some kind of ground or some unit that can attack the ground that prevents him from being able to do that. And DTs is just an excellent way of doing that, especially when I already have a lot of Phoenixes. So in the meantime, I'm just scouting around. That's a really huge pickup by me. Picking off any probes I can. And going to expand myself. And getting my robo. The only way this is gonna work is if you get an observer with your Phoenix. And you can see this composition now. Now I'm outside his base. It's a pretty good snipe offs by him. And you can see I will replenish my Phoenixes if I have to. To do this build or this style, you definitely need to have more Phoenixes than your opponent. Because it's gonna come down to killing that observer. Just getting my third. This army is out of position. Usually you want to have your army either right here or here, just so you can see the third or whenever he moves out. And yeah, you can see how I'm going to reposition my... this is still not the best spot. This guy went across the map to pick off some probes. That's really risky of him because now he exposes his Phoenix. And he already knows I have more Phoenix than him. And you can see my DTs kind of force to cancel the third while I have mine. You can see where this becomes really bad for my opponent and really good for me. I'm on 3 base economy, fully saturated. He's on 2. Look at him. He can't move out. Cannot move out. He just realizes crap. He has an observer with the army. What does he do? Back at my base, getting double Robo Colossus. You can see I don't really warping any units. Like I said in Lightning, you don't really need to warp in units unless you are going to be attacked and you feel like you can't delay them. And I've delayed them quite a bit with my DTs. Getting more DTs, getting more Phoenixes. So waiting on a couple more Phoenix to be able to one-shot his observer. And there we go, sniped it off. You can see how this becomes extremely annoying. Obviously, if he could get cannons down there, that'd be excellent, so I can't do that. But that's coming down to him being able to get a Pylon down there and then a cannon. So it's really hard for him to actually pull that off. As I get a 4th base, so it's like 4-2 base. Do I see that? I do see it, huh? So he's putting up cannons up here. He realizes he's gonna need cannons to do something about this. But it's already too late. He just took too much damage. I didn't even get to use my Colossus over here. There's a lot of zealots here. But yeah, so to recap, this build allows you to have map control, and that's probably the biggest thing with this build that I like a lot. Very early map control. So the only build I could see where this might become a little bit tricky is if they go for 10 gate Stargate into Phoenix. Something like that might lead into some troubles because they'll have a faster Stargate than you. But let me see if let me have some of this written down here, so that way I know exactly what we must discuss. Okay, so if your player is going for blink instead, what do you do? If you see a Twilight Council, what do? You can, from the one Phoenix that you scout with, you could just go into, actually you're going to go up to 2 Phoenix, because the first Phoenix is going to have to get all the way to his base, and by the time he gets to his base, the second Phoenix should be finishing up. So after the second Phoenix, you're going to transition into Robo, and then just go into Immortals. Now this comes down to seeing if he's getting blink or not. Like I said in the previous game, it's actually really dependent. If it's super fast blink, and he's making nothing but blink stalkers or stalkers, you want to go with Immortals. Go up to like 2, and then 3, and then 4. Once you get up to 2, that's where the blink stalkers will start to lose its value, and he needs to reconsider something about that. With the Mothership Core, so once you get like 2 Immortals, you can go for a DT like Zest did. But if you want to play super safe, go with the 1 Immortal, then an Observer, and then go back into Immortals. And if you're scared what happens if he engages with the 1 and you only have 1 Immortal, well, you have a Mothership Core with Overcharge. You should be perfectly fine in that regard. Just make sure you don't engage until you get more Immortals, and then you should be A-okay. Against DTs, if you see that coming, you could just go with your Robo as same thing. Go with the Robo, try to get an Observer out. If he has nothing but Zealots, he doesn't have that many stalkers, and he has a Twilight Council, that should be raising a red flag that DTs is on the way. So get an Observer. Let's say they go for a 1 gate expand 21 Nexus type of thing. Well, then your Phoenix should be able to kill the Mothership Core. Or if you can't kill the Mothership Core, you will force a super early Photon Overcharge, because he's not going to be able to have anything to deal with the Phoenix that early in the game. He's probably going to have a Sentry or maybe just 1 Stalker, but that's not going to be enough for your Phoenix, because your Phoenix should be able to kill the Mothership Core before it dies in that situation. So force a early Photon Overcharge, and then after that you can transition into a 3 gate Phoenix timing. Or if you wanted to play macro wise, then just skip a lot of stuff, get your expansion, and just harass with like 4 Phoenixes. Just kill a lot of probes, and you'll catch up in probe count, or you'll bring his probe count lower to yours, and you'll probably be ahead because you had not only the same amount of probes and the same amount of bases, but you also have map control. Alright. Next thing I could think of, what happens if they go for some super early warp gate timing, 3 gate or 4 gate or something like that? You want to go with Zealot Phoenix. You don't want to go into Void Rays or anything like that. When you're facing a 3 gate or 4 gate, you want to go Zealot Phoenix, because with the Photon Overcharge, you have to wait for him to commit to it. Now let's say you have to be really decisive with your Photon Overcharge. You don't want to cast a Photon Overcharge once he's in sight and he's like within range of your to be hit by the Photon Overcharge. You want him to commit. You want him to overcommit where he's literally near the Nexus. Cast a Photon Overcharge and start lifting. The lifts will help you deal with the Photon Overcharge, be able to kill that stuff. He's gonna have to kite his way to try to kill off your Phoenix as much as possible. But while it's doing that, it's gonna get hit by the Zealots. That's what you generally want to do against 3 gate, 4 gate. Is there anything else that I'm missing that Protoss can do early in the game that will disrupt everything? Okay, let's say they go for... Remember, he scouts for proxy. Let's say you scout and he does a proxy 2-gate zealot. Well, you have an 11-gate, so you're in a better position than you would be if you had a 13-gate. Just add on your extra gate, and then just micro your way to there. You'll end up, you'll stay on 2 gates, and then you'll add a 3rd one as soon as possible, while you're still making your pylons on time, while you're still making zealots. Probably gonna have to stop making probes for a bit, while you get your 3rd gateway. And then with that 3rd gateway, once it's done, you add a zealot to it. You'll see yourself ahead in the zealot count, and you should be able to overpower him. Now, if he goes for if he tries to transition at the cyber, you can easily tell if he's trying to just because of the number of zealots he has. If it does not match your zealots, then he's transitioning. So that's when you just kill him. That's when you go for the counterattack and kill him. Let's say he does a proxy Stargate. No, not proxy Stargate. Proxy Stargate, you have your Phoenix, so you're gonna be fine. Cause the only proxy Stargate I can think of is like Oracles. No one really does that proxy Void Ray anymore. Proxy Stalker Rush, the 2-gate with the stalkers. That's fine. What you can do is you want to, I would say, use zealots and probes and try to, with your you want to Chronoboost out your Mothership core as soon as possible, ASAP. You want to throw down a Twilight Council and rush for DTs while you defend with zealot and probes. You want to try to, you can even throw out all your probes and all your zealots there, as long as you're able to afford a DT shrine and a Twilight Council. If you're able to afford those two, once you afford those two, you can send everything at them. And generally what the soccer player will do is back up. He's going to retreat, he's going to go down the ramp, he's going to play back, and then you just go back up your ramp. Around that time, around 5:30-ish, near 5:30, you should have built-in overcharge. You cast that thing while you're still probing, while you're still making probes, while you're still getting some income going on. Warp gate finishes, you have DT, you can warp in to not only defend your base, but also attack into his. So once you scout that proxy, you're going to have that probe go somewhere on his side of the map, put a proxy pylon there, warp in 1 DT there, and warp in the rest of the DTs to defend, and you should be A-okay. A-okay. Okay, I think I covered up everything. Thank you for watching. I hope you do enjoy this video and this daily. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at FlatLine SE2, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like what you see, FlatLine SE2 as well. My website is flatlinese2.com. If you want to check out a more organized, structured website that has all this Protoss awesome stuff. But yes, thank you for watching, and I will see you later.